Who's your emergency contact? Who was you notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2 decades of my life. Here, I'm taking you on a journey with me to the different prisons that I've been to. Right now, we're in Lompoc. I faced in Lompoc in 2001. I left Lompoc anywhere around the summer of 2004, towards the fall of 2004. I'm sharing stories with you that's happened while I was there. Different riots, different altercations and stuff. And I'm not sure if I have them all in chronicle order, but they all happened in the same time frame that I was in Lompoc. So the Norteño riot might have happened before this riot, the Crip riot, but all these things are just, after spending 2 decades in there, your memories kind of jumble all together. I break up my time according to what prison I was at, not necessarily the months and years. So right now, on this journey that I'm taking you through, I'm in Lompoc. And I teased you a little bit on the last episode about the Sureno riot. So today, I'm gonna tell you what happened in that Sureno riot in my unit. And at this time, I'm in J block. We have moved out of M block because of the TI riot, which is Terminal Island, which was the FCI. But there was a race riot, and they emptied out all the prison. And when they emptied out the prison, they turned M block, my block that I was living in when I came on the yard, into the hole, the shoe. So they moved everybody to different units and whatnot. I ended up in J block. And in J block, I was there with Topo. It's the Black Hand. He's the one that kicked off the riot against the police. Now, just a little background on Topo. He's from Valencia. I don't know his first name, but his last name is Garcia. Him and I, through the course of my time, became real good friends. He was about in his mid-40s, between 45 and 50. At the time I was there, I was in my early 20s. And through our interaction, somehow, I don't remember exactly what point in time that we became cool, but we became really cool. And I considered him my friend. And I can say with confidence that he felt the same way for me. Now, if you're watching this, you might not agree with some of the things that me or these individuals have done, or the decisions that we made, or the course that our life took. But regardless how you feel about what they've done, what they did, whatever your opinion is, these are affordable men. These are men that I like to say is a different breed. No matter how you feel, you have to have a certain level of respect for them. Because one, they've earned it. According to the life choices that they've made, to the code they live by, to what they bought into, these guys, they've lived it. These are the stuff that movies are made of. Your heroes that you see in movies, these gangsters that the people make movies of, these fictional characters that Hollywood has created. Well, these are real live individuals that really live this life. They were signed up for something and live and die by these codes. This ain't a story. This ain't fiction. A lot of people out there that's on TV, wherever, not to disrespect them in any capacity or whatever, but everybody wants the accolades. They want all the prestige, all the props and the respect that comes with living this life. But they want it without the sweat, without the tears, without the blood that it takes to get there. These people, they bled for this stuff because it's what they believed in. is because of what they signed up for. You might not have to agree with it, but at the end of the day, you have to respect it. And these are legends. When I'm telling you my story, it's not necessarily about me, but it's about the people that I've interacted with throughout the years, the people that I've been privileged to meet and call friends. And these individuals, in their own rights, are legends. You know, and they're not legends because they want to be. They're not legends because they, you know, we made up stories about them. They're legends because of the deeds and their actions that they've done, because they stay true to the code. And I keep saying that, I emphasize that, staying true to the code, because these individuals, they know exactly what they signed up for. And when the time came, when shit hit the fan, and they knew they were gonna get a life sentence, a death sentence, or whatnot, they didn't break. They stayed true to the oath that they took. And that in itself is something that needs to be respected, even admired. Because how many of you sitting there viewing this can hold your water when you're facing 10 years, 20 years, 100 years? I can positively say the viewers on this episodes, 85% of you will not be willing to sit in a fucking box for the rest of your life. But these people, they stuck to that code and they did it. And they're doing it. Right now, Topo, he's still in ADX for the riot that happened back in 2003. Never to see the sun again. Never to be in a population again. You know. And these are the stories of these men that I'm going to share with you through the course of these episodes. So going through the Sureno riot, on that particular day, you know, they've been drinking. I come off the yard about 3 o'clock is recall, 3:30, 3 o'clock recall. So everybody's got to return back to the housing units, the block, the unit, whatever you want to call it, is where we're housed in, and return to our assigned cell. At 4 o'clock, everybody gets locked down. Throughout the whole penitentiary system, federal penitentiary system, 4 o'clock local hour, you're locked in your cell, and they got to have a count. When the count, they got to call the number, they got to call the region, DC, to give them the accurate count. If the count don't match what they have in DC, the doors won't open until it does. Usually they're proficient with it, and back then, every movement is clockwork. You can depend on the doors opening at 6 o'clock in the morning. You can depend on rec and activity move being called at 7:30. And movements, 10-minute movements on each hour, every hour. You know, now before I left Florence, Colorado, it's anything. Nothing is called on time. For some reason, I don't know why it's so hard for them to do that when they've been doing it, you know, since I've been in prison until up to 5 years ago. You know, now there's no accountability amongst the staff. You know, when you complain about it because you're waiting to go to the law library or waiting to go to rec or whatever, you know, all they tell you is, well, if you don't like it, don't come to prison. You know, that's their answer for everything ignorant that they do, for their incompetency. You know, when they say, oh, if you're complaining about my staff, it means you're doing something right. I mean, just think about that answer, right? But this is the mentality that these new boys that are in position running the prison now have. You know, these fucking punks, these administrators that are running the prison now, they're not the old convict COs, convict wardens that we're accustomed to when I first entered the system. These are dudes that got beat up when they were in school or whatever. Yeah, I don't know their life story, but I can tell what kind of person, individual you are by the way you conduct yourself. And if you're just on a mentality of a punitive mentality, punishment, lockdown, one, you don't even understand the environment you're in. Two, you don't understand that we don't recognize your authority in there. We have codes that we live by. Because the administration's code and conduct, when we violate it, all you're going to do is put us in the shoe, lock us down 24/7, or send us to a program, or give us a new charge. When we violate the code and conduct that we abide by and live by, it can mean our death. So when you compare the two, which code are you going to follow? So on this particular day, count clears at 4:30. About 4:20, 4:30. And then about 10 minutes after that, they have an activity move where you can go out to the yard or go to the hobby shop, before they call chow, starting at 5. So in J Block, it's about 20 and 21 cells down a row. It's a row with the cells on each side and the day room is in the middle. If you've seen American Me, the movie, those old penitentiary, that's how it's set up. It's Lompoc. They dubbed it the New Rock when they closed down Alcatraz. So I'm in cell 19 on the left side if you're facing the back end of the unit. And Topo is on cell 24, which is right across from me on the opposite side. And the tier goes around like this in a U. So I can walk around the second tier, so I can walk around and go to his cell. I just bend the corner. So that's where me and him was at. The Southsiders have a softball game that evening. So, like if you heard the softball game stories that I told in an earlier episode, we all go out because softball is exciting. It's very competitive, and there's a few talented individuals that are locked up. So on this particular day, we're just chopping it up about who's going to win the game. I'm not sure exactly who are they playing. They're probably either playing the White Boys or the Bisons, one or the other. But we're all getting ready to go to the game, and me and Topo is on the rail on the second floor, talking, when two COs come walking down underneath us to a cell underneath us. So as I'm having a conversation with Topo, we see two COs pull out Travioso, which is another Southside, one of Topo's little homies. And Topo stopped in the conversation and he looked down. He said, "What's going on?" And Trav was like, "Oh, I don't know, big homie. They just said the lieutenant called me." And Topo looked down at the two COs. The COs are correctional officers. And he was like, what's going on? "You fucking with him?" No, Mr. Garcia," the CO said. No, Mr. Garcia. "The lieutenant want to talk to him. It's not us. Now you have to understand, at this time when I first fished in, the word on Topo was he was one of the youngest guy ever being made. He was a black hand, Mexican mafia. At this time, he was the youngest one that was ever given the privilege to be made. So for you to be made in an organization like that, you had to be exceptional in your line of work. And he was feared. He was the general on the compound. There was other black hands, older ones that were older than him, but they were more in a kind of like a retirement stage aspect. When they speak, their voice is heard, but Topo had the runnings of the yard. And so they're like, "No, Mr. Garcia, ain't got nothing to do with us. The lieutenant want to see him." So he let them go on their way. When they're walking away, he turns around and looks at me, and he was like, they don't run this yard. I run this yard. And I was like, yeah, big homie, you run this yard. Yeah, I run this motherfucking yard. Hey, go get Trava. So he telling his homeboys to go retrieve Travioso. And they called for him or whatnot. I don't know if he heard or he didn't hear, but 4 of them end up going and grabbing Travioso. So they go grab Travioso and they bring him back. And Topa lean over the rail and he tells them, I'm gonna tell you guys one time only. When they come in here, every one of you motherfuckers better get down. You know, I've been in my own situations that I've shared with you, with the COs. And this has nothing to do with me. So that was my cue. But I know that this is gonna get serious. So I said, as he was saying that, they call activities move. You know, 10-minute move to the yard. So I look at Topo, I said, man, it was good seeing you, big homie. It was good knowing you. And we shook hands and we hugged because we knew that this was it. That this is the fork in the road. He's made his decision. Being who he is, he can't give an order like that and not follow through with it. And I understood that. And he understood that. So, you know, to me, yeah, he was a big homie to me. I functioned with him. I played handball with him every weekend. You know, he gave me a lot of game. He educated me, you know. So, understanding the severity of the situation and what it's going to turn into, it was, I don't know how to explain it because you can see the train wreck happening, but there's nothing you can do to stop it. So we shook hands, I gave him a hug, and I bent the corner to my cell to go get my cellie to let him know that shit's about to pop. So I tell my cellie, I go by my cell, I say, hey, his name was Keith Streeter, my cellie at the time, Hawaiian dude from Hawaii, Japanese Hawaiian from Hawaii. I say, hey, bro, we gotta go, bro. Hurry up. Oh, no, bro, I'm gonna go cow. You know, going cow means I'm gonna go eat. I said, nah, bro, there ain't gonna be no cow. Oh, what you mean, bro? For real? I said, hurry the fuck up, grab your coat and the cigarette and let's get the fuck out of here before we get stuck. Wow, what's going on, bro? What's going on? I said, man, grab the shit and let's go. So he grabbed the shit because he sees the panic, the urgency in my voice. So he grabbed the coat and we freaking run down the tier, down the stairs and out the door. Just in time, because as soon as we got out, they locked the door to my unit. So I'm outside the unit, walking down, and here comes the homie Bryson, Pine, and Shine. They bounce out of K unit, and they're running, hey, what's up, bro? We greet each other. It's like, oh, it's fitting to go down, bro. He's like, oh, what's going on? I said, oh, the South Side and Topa, them's all drunk. What? Yeah, it's fitting to go down. So when we come out of my unit, you know, it's a long corridor, then there's a unit that breaks out like this. You know, there's L, J, K, I think it's 3 units. So I live in J and Bryson and them live in K. So we're heading down to rec. We gotta walk down a long corridor before we get to the rec yard. So as we get halfway through the corridor, the deuces go off, which again is an emergency panic button notifying there's a situation. And the CO starts running to my unit, you know, and they run past us. And I'm telling the homies like, yeah, it's going down. And I'm laughing and giggling, you know, about the situation. And one of the COs stops and he looks at me, he's like, what the fuck you laughing at? Huh? What's so funny? You know, being me, I tell him, shit, you ain't got to worry about me. You got bigger fish to deal with. And as soon as I said it, another deuces go off which is another emergency signal, and he didn't have time to react or to deal with me. He just ran down the hallway, and then another CO came and told everybody out, and cleared us out to the yard. Now, I wasn't in the unit when all this stuff transpired. I was in the yard from 4:30 all the way till 12:30 that night. It was 1 o'clock before they brought us in off the yard. You hear a siren that goes on. They have a siren that goes, wah, wah, wah. That's a siren notifying all the facilities around the pen to lock their inmates down and every available body to show up to this area. They closed down the camp. They closed down the FCI. Whatever other office facility they had on that compound, they closed it down, and every available body reported to fucking J Block. And the story goes, there was 3 COs, 2 that was working the block, a third one to come and let them know that the lieutenant wanted to see some, wanted to holler at Trava. The Sureno snatched those 3 up, put them in the back of the unit, and stomped them out. The COs ran in there. The first response, when the first deuces went off, ran in there to try to rescue them and got beat up and sent back out. Then another wave of like 50 COs, like literally 50 CO, 50, came running into the unit, and all of them got beat up and ran out. Like it was just a full-blown riot against the police. They got beat up and they all ran out. When they ran out, the Surenos broke all the vending machines, the soda machines, the cappuccino machine. We had a cappuccino machine in Lompoc. The sandwich machine, the canning machine, and they pulled them all and barricaded the door. They had a standoff for how many hours? We're on the yard, and all we see on the yard is COs stumbling out with their hair disheveled and out of breath and going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this shit's going down. Oh, scared to death. Because they know it's serious. Everybody go in there, them people trying to kill these people. Like I always emphasize the environment that we live in. It's a war zone. It's chaotic. You're behind enemy lines, and it's not only the rival gangs, the different racial tension, but the CO, the administration. We're at war. We're at odds with everybody. When they finally took us off the yard, they took us to the SHU. They returned everybody else to their unit, but they took us to the SHU because they couldn't put us back in our unit because our unit was so contaminated from all the OC, from all the spray, the mace that they sprayed in there. You couldn't even go in there and breathe. They let us out 3 days later out of the SHU. Back then, Lompoc didn't lock down. Didn't matter if 2 white boys stabbed the police. Didn't matter who got killed or how many people got killed that day. They never locked down back then. So we were in the SHU for 3 days, and the only reason we were in there for 3 days is because they had to air out the unit from all the gas that was sprayed in there. And when we came back out, everybody went to their room and cleaned up the unit or whatever, and you can see all these rubber bullets, pellets everywhere. The story in there, it was chaotic. Like anybody that's viewing this that was in there in the unit at the time, man, holler at me and fill me in on the rest of the story. I can only give you what I know from what people's told me and from my firsthand knowledge. I'm not here to fabricate and exaggerate anything. But that was one of the craziest riots in the penitentiary. The Southsiders in my block went at it with the COs, stomped them all out. They had to call in a hostage negotiator to negotiate the 3 COs that they had hostage in the back of the unit. Every single one of those people in that incident got more time. They had a couple of people that only had a few months left, a few years left, and they all caught more time. Minimum was 8 to 10 years. And Topo, he slammed down in ADX. You know, before he left Lompoc, they had him in the I unit, which is an underground SHU. He sent word, wishing me well, sending his love and respect. And that was the last time I seen my friend. He's in ADX now. But welcome to the USP. Real life shit.